Hello, Kelly here with Kelly's Circle Life, and I am here with class three of lessons from Lenormand. And it took me a little while longer to get this first kind of meaty class out, the one that has a lot of information in it, because it took me a while to get the slides together and the information together. And also, I have moved into a new recording space. And so that took a little while to get reset up. And so now I'm here and I'm going to do this first class in my new space and see how it works. So we are, like I said, on class three in lessons from Lenormand. And I'll have a link to the class schedule, the things that I'm using here. And there is one change here, I think that, oh no, maybe not, but a little change from the very first video that I made, and I'll tell you about that. But this one, if you download this, it has a schedule on it and it has some journal pages because you can take notes on it. You can listen and take notes on all the cards that we're doing today and the ones that we do in the future, or you can just listen, or you can follow along and work along with your own cards, or you can do some of the combination drills that we're going to do at the end of the class. So it's a place for you to work and do what you want to, whatever you want to with the notes and things. So we're going to, like I said, this is class three, and I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. Get the slides up and reset. So here, class three, and here's class three, and you say, well, we're going to be working through the rest of the cards for the rest of the classes, and hopefully the next classes will come out faster because I will already have this kind of down, and I'll just be putting in some new information about the next cards. So I think it'll be a little bit faster. So we're going to talk about these six cards today, and then do some combination drills. So let's get started. And like I said, the information is on here, and it has the information on the book that I am using. And the book that I'm using is Raina George's The Essential Lenormand, Your Guide to Precise and Practical Fortune Telling. So this is a great book, and it has been out for 10 years now. And I'm going to leave a link in the description as well to a video that Raina George did with the Mystery Channel. And you'll be able to hear her talk about Lenormand and, really get some good insight from her. And she talks about the next issue or the next reprint of her book that's coming out, that's going to be updated. And that's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So I'll leave that link and you can listen to her interview. It's really good. So then some of the things that I wanted just to highlight from the information that she gave in the very front of the book, before she starts talking about the cards, is the keywords and the meanings. And there's lots of different ways that she gives keywords for the different context of the cards, because you know that the cards in Lenormand, the cards do have just one symbol and just usually one word on it, like writer and house and tree. But there's lots of different ways that card can be used, lots of different ways that card can be interpreted, even though the keyword meaning stays the same. And so I wanted to talk about the different ways that she puts the cards in context and how you can start using that for your own readings. So here she talks about each card in the future and like time, whether it's a woman or a man, and that's more like a masculine and feminine energy in the context of work, love, health, body, and spirit, money, time or timing, advice or action, orientation, objects, and areas. And then she also includes some personal anecdotes, some traditional meanings and combinations and examples. And they're really great and they're really fun to read and to hear how she has used the cards and her experience with the cards. And so, if you want to, if you can just listen to this and I'll kind of summarize all the things that she said. And if you want to go deeper, then you can definitely go deeper into the cards and into the book yourself. But I just wanted to show that there's lots of different ways that you can eventually, if you're new to Lenormand cards, eventually use them in different kind of contexts. And the drills that we do and the practice that we do at the end is going to help you with all of that. And then these are some just important points that I think that stood out to me from her writing. That time is malleable. It's not our time. The time of the cards, the time that the cards, the divine, your higher self, your intuition, all of these things that are working together to give you these messages, the time that they exist in is malleable. It's not linear. It doesn't have like a starting and a stopping point. And so when you ask the cards about timing, sometimes it will be very literal and you will get, a very clear answer. It's going to be soon. It's not going to be soon. But sometimes it's going to be a little bit more unclear because it might be something that is happening along with something else or waiting on something else or something that is going to be in the future and seems like a long time for you, but is really not, to your guides or to the spirits. And so just kind of think about that and think about and try to keep those kind of things in mind, that sometimes when you're asking something specific, it can be very clear and very specific, and sometimes it's not, and that's okay. Then in most Lenormand teachings, there is an orientation for each of the card and a positive, negative, or neutral. So the positive cards just means it puts like a positive spin on things. A negative card means just it puts more of a hindrance on that card. And then a neutral card is one of those that just depend. They depend on the positive and negative cards around them. And so most teachers and most books and things that I've read and listened to, classes I've taken, they all use this positive. You'll hear this terminology: positive, negative, or neutral, and you'll get your own your own orientation and your own feeling about it, and see how they work together, and and get your own kind of nuance, like she goes into a little bit later. So then the personal anecdotes that she gives, and these are things that you just gain over time. And so this is a good place to start journaling or start, taking some notes on readings that you do, like the combination drills that we're going to do at the end. It's a good place to take notes so that you have a record of stories and you have a record of the readings that you've done, and you can tell how that the meaning of a card maybe changes for you over time, or something new comes up, or you read a card in a totally different way. And that's just something that you gain over time. And she's put a lot of her personal anecdotes in here for you to kind of get, especially if you're new, for you to get some really good kind of context for the cards. And then nuance is it kind of taking that orientation and then going deeper with it. So looking at a card, and that's where those kind of all of those contexts come into play. So you're looking at the context and you're kind of looking at how that card is in a reading and how it may, and because position is very important in Lenormand. And so where the card is does make a difference. And so you might have a card and the first card, and you might have the first card and the second card, and you read them one way, and then but if you reverse them, you would read them a different way. And so looking at those things and going deeper and looking at the symbols in the card, the symbolism, those kinds of things, just going deeper with it. And that's again, is something that you're going to learn over time and things that you're going to have personal experiences with the cards and figure out those nuances for yourself. And then there are the, and it, when we get, there are cards that have to do with medical and health related issues. And so we're going to talk about one of those cards today. And her caution in the book is to, if you don't feel comfortable doing any kind of medical reading, any kind of reading about health, uh, in more than a general way, then don't do it. Just be true to yourself and be true to how you feel about it. And always, always, if there's any doubt, refer the person to your client or parent, or if it's a friend or family member that you're doing a reading to, always refer them to a professional if you feel like that is needed. So, just be careful with that. And it's something that you'll have, and it might change over time, but you'll kind of know how you feel about it. But don't feel like that you have to interpret a card in a specific way if you don't feel comfortable giving that kind of reading. And, we don't ever want to give readings in which we're not qualified. And in tarot, I don't give very specific medical readings, nor do I give financial advice or legal advice because, I'm not a professional. And so I don't do that. But there are ways to read in those areas. And Lenormand is the same. There's ways to read in those areas and get something out of it. And you see that I'm raising my hand and I'm not sure. I hope that that's not showing on the video, but I'll just go. So I think it's just the automatic reactions are coming on. So, but anyway, to go on, we're going to now go into the cards. So when I started out to putting this class together, I wanted to use Raina George's cards, Lenormand cards, because I was using her book. And this is her card over here on the left, on this side. And then over here on the right, I was going to use the Sweet Blossom Lenormand. And I think that I recommend that as one. And I still think it's a really good deck. But this deck is the Wicked Tales Lenormand. And it's one that I think that I backed in Kickstarter as a Kickstarter, and I just got it. And I thought that it was really cute and it was really fun. And I wanted just to show something against, so show two versions of a card. And so I decided to use this one because this time of year and because, I thought this was a really cute one. And it kind of gives you a little bit of a spin on what different cards can look like, something that's more traditional in Raina George's cards, and then something that's a take on the cards. And I just thought it was fun for this time of year. So I'll be using this one for this class. So let's start. Number one, and it's very important too that you start associating the number with the cards, because the numbers in Lenormand, as you get farther into it, you'll realize that they're very important, because as you start doing grand tableaus, you'll have each house will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and goes through the 36. So each of the positions has, corresponds to that number. And then you put a card on top of it. You have a one on top of it. Candace, no, be quiet. Lie down. Lie down. Sorry, barking dog. But anyway, as I was saying, start working really a lot with the numbers. And so, rider is one. And so when you start laying out these bigger spreads, then you'll be able to associate that house with it. But, that's a long way down the road. And we'll get to that eventually. And it's something that takes practice. It's something that definitely takes practice, and you can do some exercise and kind of and work with them and memorize them, but don't put so much pressure on yourself to memorize it that it doesn't become fun, because it is supposed to be fun. Okay, so number one, writer. So writer, the keywords, and you see the keywords are over here, and then I have some kind of a little bit more, and these are keywords that come from the book. And these are some kind of reflections that come from the guidebook that goes with the Wicked Tales, and then some extra information down at the bottom that I thought was interesting about the card. So here, this is rider, and so rider is indicative of movement. Something arriving, something moving swiftly, freedom. It could be news. It could be something that you find out. Visitors, actual visitors that come to your door, delivery persons, and something that's new, something that is coming up for you that is new. And so these are all keywords for rider. And then here you see the rider on the other side, with a little bit of take. So the traditional, kind of more traditional look on the left is a rider that's looks very regal, one that might have been a rider for in historic time period. And then on the right side we have a haunted carousel. And so this is more a take on it than a rider, but the carousel is something that tells you that communication here is vital. Look, because there are two people here. There's the rider and the horse, and it's not just the rider. And as a person who had horses and was a horseback rider, it is definitely a partnership between the two of you. It is not, you don't just get on the horse and let the horse take over, and you don't get on the horse and you take over. There is that communication between it. And so it is very vital that communication is there. And so that is just another aspect of the writer. What is being communicated, and how can you look at that? And then I have a reflection question, and this you can do if you just want to write it on your own, if you want to pause and take some notes, or you just want to pause and think about it, or you just want to kind of think about it, or you want to write it down. And when you study with your cards, you can do that. And so this is the reflection question. How do you like to receive news? And this, the more traditional writer is one that might have delivered mail, delivered actual letters and at some time. And now we just get so few physical things that how do you like to receive news? Do you like to, do you have an Instagram feed that you get news from? Do you have, do you get a newspaper every morning? And what are ways that you like to receive news? And that's just kind of opening your mind to these reflection questions. Just kind of open your mind and open you up to the keywords, and kind of open you up to the different ways, that the context, the nuances that Rain and George talks about in the book. So the future here, for the kind of future or time period, relies on the context to see what movement or news is being referred to. And you will see that a lot as we go through the cards, that it's hard to tell, what it's referring to, or how far, or, what it's looking towards, depending on where it is, and where it is in the reading and the other cards that come up, and where it is in the spread, and where it's pointing. And we're going to talk about direction in just a minute. but looking at those and seeing, looking at the context. And so when you hear that, just think, okay, well, I know that these are the keywords. And so it's going to give me a little bit more understanding. And that's how those combination drills, I think, are really going to be helpful, because you can look at that. You can have the writer and then you can put another card with it. And how does that other card affect the keywords or the nuances of the writer? The quickness, this is something that's happening soon. So the quickness, here, this card indicates something that's happening more quickly than more slowly. It's a neutral card because it depends on the other cards around it. And the direction. And I have, in classes that I've taken and teachers that I've listened to and books that I have read, there's not a consensus about direction. There are some teachers who have said direction is very important. And so looking at where the rider is going, where the rider is heading, where the horse is pointed is very important. And I don't know why it keeps my hand, but anyway. So here it is where the rider is going. And the direction, you'll hear different people talk about that. You'll hear different people say that it is very important, and then you'll hear other people say it's not important at all. It's just important where it is in the spread. And if the rider was in a 5-card spread, is it at the beginning or the end? Is it in the middle? Where is it? And what is it? Is it looking, are there cards behind it that indicates that things are, have passed? Are there cards in front of it that indicates that something is going forward? Is it at the end? And so it's going out into the unknown. And so you'll hear different things. I personally like to look at the direction. I like to look at where it's heading, because I do that in tarot cards. And I think that it is a good way to get, some clues and to get to some added information about the card. And so you can look at it and you can see in the rider on the left is, looking, towards the right. And the rider on here on the right in the wicked tailed is looking, the rider's looking more forward, and the horse is kind of looking, off to the side. And, if you had to say direction, more, to the left. And so that really, I think, for me, is helpful. And in cards like this, the rider and the ship we're going to talk about later, and some of the other cards that we'll talk about later, you can look at those and see the direction. And that is just a personal preference. What do you like and what do you think about it? So that is card 1 and the rider. So card 2, we have clover. And here you see the clover on the left, the clover in the field. And you notice, and I talked about this in the last video, that the Rain and George's cards have the at the top, and you'll see cards that have this and cards that don't, but she has the playing card association here. I'm not going to get into that because it's just a little bit deeper than I want to go. And I don't know the playing card associations as well as I could. And so I think that it is, something that I might do later on and do just, one video. But in this, we're not going to talk about that. So when you see the playing cards at the top, you can, if you like to use playing cards and you're very familiar with it, this is something that you can just add to it. But if not, you can just see that it's a nice decoration and just go on with it. So clover here, we see clover, and you see the clover on the left with the clover out in the field, and you see here the clover being held up. And so they're both the 4-leaf clover, and they both have this 4-leaf clover. And if you kind of know about clovers and 4-leaf clovers as being lucky, I remember from just growing up and always wanting to find a 4-leaf clover. because it was so lucky. And so, and that's what clover means. So clover has that, the keyword of luck. It also has the keyword of good fortune, happiness, success, hope, reward, leap of faith, opportunity. So you can kind of see from those that this is probably a positive card. And you can see down at the bottom that it is a positive card. And it is associated with the four-leaf clover, luck and hard work. How much is that luck part? How much does the luck play into what happens, and how much does the hard work play into what happens? And so that's kind of the reflection card here, is how do you experience luck and how do you experience hard work? Are they just separate things that are separate for you? Are they things that work in tandem? And what does that mean when the clover comes up? And so this I think is a really good kind of question to ponder. And so it kind of gives you that nuance of luck. Where is this luck coming up, and where is the success? Is it going to be? And as you start putting the clover and associating with other cards, is it luck in business? Is it luck in a relationship? Is it luck and success in a trip? Something like that. And so you'll see that, and you'll see how that. And what do you need to do then to make that come true? We need to take some action. And how do we do that? And if you get this card, it's a lot of times is a signal for you to go outside, to get some fresh air, to touch grass, to do something and get outside. A time, and it's happening soon and it's happening quickly. Again, a positive card. And it often softens the blow of other cards. And so some other cards that might come up, and we're going to get into some other cards that so positive. And the clover coming with it is going to be, it's okay, and we'll get through this. And card number 3, the ship. And again, this one is like the rider. It has movement in it. And so you want to look at the direction of this one. But this one is more about travel, about adventure, distance, going somewhere far away. And that can be physically moving and physically going somewhere, or something that you have to that you want to broaden your horizons. It might be something that you do to, not in a physical way, but a metaphorical way of traveling, like reading a book or taking a class, or something like that. So it can be all of those things, and something that is foreign. It's something that has to do with a vehicle. So this can be any vehicle. So if you're maybe you have a question about buying a new car, this would be the card that you would use. And so it can be anything, boat, train, subway, bus, anything like that. So anything to do with transportation, any kind of transportation. Can also be other dimension travel. So this could be a card that you might want to work with if you're doing astral projection or astral travel or meditation or something like that. And it can also be a card of inheritance, and it's something that is something that you are inheriting. And so that is another keyword that can be an indicator of. So the Kraken, I put this on here because the Kraken, and in this card, and the Kraken has come up for me in other cards and other places as well. And so I feel like that it is something that is a signal to me that I need to be working with. And so I just thought it was really neat that it was in this card, in this particular deck when I was doing this particular class, because the Kraken is there, and there are joys and perils of travel. And so it can, some people love to travel. Some people love to go on airplanes. Some people love to stay in hotels, and other people, it's really hard. Some people like to drive and like to ride in cars. Some people like to walk. Some people like to run. And it's all of those things and all of those modes of transportation. And it can be happy and it can be, and there can, and we've all, had, perils of travel before in being, stuck at an airport or being snowed in or, something like that. And knowing it and knowing that something might be coming up is great. And that is what I really enjoy about Lenormand, because it gives you a clue as to what is coming up, as to what that peril might be. So you can be prepared for it. And so you can take some extra time. You can do something extra, take an extra book or something like that, so that you're prepared. So this is your reflection question: as what has been your favorite trip? And this is a way to just think about travel and think about the ways that you traveled. And again, it might be the joy and the not so joyous. We recently went to Japan, and it was an incredible trip. I mean, it was just the time that we were there. I went with my whole family, and or most of my whole family, and it was just an amazing trip. But we were on a plane for 12 hours, and so and being on a plane is not my favorite thing. But I knew that in order to have this amazing experience, that was part of it. And so I really did a lot of preparation beforehand to get prepared for it and to be prepared for that long trip. And it was not as bad as I as it could have been. And I didn't feel, as I felt more prepared, and I felt like that I was ready for it. And it was a way to have this experience and take the good with the bad, and the comfortable with the uncomfortableness, and it was good. So this ship is indicative, of all of that. And this is when you get this card, it's time to try a new horizon in some way. It might be time just like me, it was time for me to move where I am doing my videos. And that might be it might be that, that small, just, find a different, look out a different window, take a different route to work, something like that. Or it could be telling you that it's time for something new, a a new place to get to vacation. It might be time for you might need to upgrade your transportation, your vehicle. It might be time to walk instead of take the bus, something like that. So, try new horizons. The time can be, because it's the three, we're getting into kind of using the number as something literal. So time, 3 days, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 months. And it's again a neutral card, because it depends on the other cards around it very much. And then again, look at the direction of the ship, and you see the ship on the left, it's going out into the horizon. And this ship is coming towards you, and with the Kraken there, welcoming you into port with its big arms. So, and that, I think is the fun with cards, is it gives you just that little extra, something fun with the card, and looking at the direction, and it's really like, it's time. It's telling you it's time. And if you use this card, looking at, what is it facing? Is it facing something on, this card? And is it at the top? And it's something that's already happened. It's at the bottom, and some things you have to travel through. So it's a really good one to use. And if you want to use it as a significator, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but if you were doing a specific reading about travel, then this would be the card that you would want to use. Okay, card 4 is house. And again, this can, we automatically kind of think of home, and it does mean home, but it can also mean family because most of the time, many times our family lives in a house with us or has lived in a house with us. It can also be a headquarters. It can be the headquarters of a club. It can be the headquarters of an organization that you're in. It can be the headquarters of your business. It can mean real estate, buying or selling real estate. It can be just a place of residence. Where is it that you live? It doesn't have to be a house. It can be an apartment. It can be a rented garage that you rent somewhere. It can be a condo. It can be, a townhouse. It can be a farmhouse. All of those kinds of things that it could mean. And it can also mean foundation. And this is one of my favorite ways to use this card is as the foundation. What is it supporting, or what do I need support with? It can also be an indication that you need to cook, clean, or eat. You need to cook more or clean more or eat more healthy. So it's kind of that check-in of, am I doing something? Am I treating my house, your body as your temple or your house as, are you treating it well? And are you treating, your surroundings well? And, what are some things that you can do, to improve that? It can also be a home business. And so if you are thinking about starting a home business, this could be a card to help you with that. It could also be something that maybe someone else in your life wants to start a home business or something like that. So it's a good one for that. And you see our other card is our haunted house there. And it kind of goes into the house as the foundation. And in order for it to be a foundation, it needs boundaries. You need the walls, you need the foundation, you need the roof, you need those things on top of it so that it's not haunted, so that it's not haunted by things that you don't want to be there. And so you need those boundaries, and that card can help you with that and help you get rid of things that you don't want. Maybe you have a whole year's worth of uh, bills or tax papers or something that is in your drawer, and you really need to tackle it, and you've just been, I just don't really want to do it. That could be that little ghost, that little haunting. And Lenormand cards can be that literal, can be that, you need to work on, this specific thing. And so your reflection is, how often do you declutter? And how can you maybe do that, a little bit more? How can you bring that into your life? Now, home or house is something that is more slow and things that happen. The time could be 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 months. It's a neutral card, very much depending on, what is going on around it. And here I have house and snake because this is one of my personal anecdotes. And I did a reading probably at the beginning of the year because I like to do grand tableaus at the beginning of the year just to look at kind of general themes that might be coming up in the coming year. And in that particular spread, I had house and in one position, and then I had snake right under it. And when we talk about snake, you'll see that snake can be something about your pipes in your house. That can be some because the snakes, and there's also the snake that you use to clean out drains and things like that. And so it can be something that is coiled up, that that's not working well, um, that's not doing well. But in that particular spread, not long after that, we did have a plumbing issue in our house and had to call a plumber and get some things fixed. And so I don't know I kind of thought it and I thought, well, maybe I should, look at that and maybe do some preventative work. And I thought maybe that was what it was telling me because even though we live inside the city limits, we still are on a sewer system. And so we have, a sewer septic tank in the backyard. And, that's not something that you can ignore. And so, but it wasn't that, but it was something specific that happened to the house. So it could be, that's my personal anecdote for that one. And you can see when the house, and when we do the combination drills, you will see how when you put house with other cards, what does it mean? All right, almost there. So let's move on to card 5, and card 5 is tree. And tree links heaven and earth. I love that because it's the roots. And a lot of times we get kind of focused on the roots and forget that the tree does grow up and grows up and out. And so it's that, linking heaven and earth. It can be fertility, can be growth, longevity, because trees usually grow very slowly and live a long time. Endurance, something that's going to last for a long time. Maturity over time, something growing older and wiser. It can be indicative of spiritual life or ancestors. So if you want to do ancestor, because those are our roots, those are, and it kind of reminds me of the fourth house in astrology, of the roots, of things that keep us grounded, things that we grow from, our family, that our immediate family that we grew from, and the place that we grew from, and where our ancestors came from. It's got that dual meaning. And so that's getting into that nuance of the card, and that's what is fun about using the Lenormand cards. So here we have our tree here, and it's trees as ancestors and making small changes. And so knowing that as time has gone along, just like as we go through each generation or each lifetime, or if you believe in past lives, as we live lives, or the future lives we're going to live in the future, or just the time that you have on earth, there's going to be small changes, and all of these things kind of come from growth that has come over time. And so looking at trees as embodying ancestors, as embodying those changes, embodying the spirits of growth and the spirits of things that are lasting a long time, because we have come from a long line of people before us, and and who knows what before that. And so just looking at that. And so the reflection question here is, what is your favorite tree? And this is just kind of getting into trees, because trees do, in lots of different cultures and lots of different practices and spirituality, different trees have different meanings. And you might have a relationship with a specific tree, or you might really connect to a specific tree within where you live. So here, tree, a long time. The time, specific time could be 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months. It is a neutral card, so it kind of, again, depends on the things around it and kind of what you're asking about, because something that might you want to last a long time, it might be a good influence, and things that you really might not want to last a long time, it might not be such great news. And so look at that. And because it's linked to health again, and this goes back to the beginning slides, don't do medical or health readings unless you are comfortable. Refer people to appropriate professionals. And so this, and that's it. That is card 5 and the tree. And then the last one we're going to do today, and this is is card 6, and this is clouds. And you can see clouds. This could be a problem brewing, something unstable, unpredictable, but that clears out quickly. It can be doubts, confusion, hesitation, something that's hidden, something that you can't see. And this could be people, again, have used clouds for millennia for prediction. And so having clouds as a symbol in the Lenormand, I think is practical and magical, because we do use clouds. You can look outside and look, and if it's cloudy, like right now, I look outside and it's cloudy. And I know that it's probably, going to rain. It's been raining for a couple of days. It's probably going to rain more before it gets sunny again. So, looking at that is very practical and very magical. And clouds, I think, are very practical and magical. And just, watching clouds, probably as a kid, I remember doing it as a kid, and just, laying on my back and watching the clouds, looking at what the shapes that the clouds make. And, it's just beautiful. So, but it can, when those clouds are coming, and when the dark storm clouds are coming, that it's going to be, you need to brace for it, and you need to buckle down. And so that's the clouds here. And your reflection question is, how does the weather affect your mood? And I know I'm a sun person. I love the sun. I love the hot weather. And so, days like this where it is cloudy and, clouds come up, I'm thinking, oh, well, it's not going to last forever. Just like this rainy period, we really needed it. And so it's something that's not going to last. It's going to move on. And the same thing with the clouds card. It can be quick or long, depending on the other cards. The time could be 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. And again, it's a neutral card, because it very much depends on what's, before it, behind it, around it. If it's when you do, bigger spreads, is it far away, and because you will be in the spread. So is it far away from you? Is it close to you? Is it close to something from work? Is it close to something from, for something else? And I know, recently just doing some readings about a family situation that I wasn't sure what I needed to do. And so the clouds came up a lot, because I wasn't sure, and it was hiding something, and I needed to figure out what kind of was at the root of it, so that I could, help those clouds, move on by. Now, here again, this is one of those things that you kind of have to decide decide yourself how you want to use the card. And you see over in Raina George's deck, the clouds definitely have a dark side and a light side. And so the dark side can be telling you that what's on, that card that's on that dark side is something that is obscure, something that you need to investigate and clear up. And the other things are like, oh, they're good, they're fine, they're doing well. And this card is not quite so much that, but you can kind of see, there's a darker side over here and maybe a lighter side over here. But those clouds are, kind of looking straight at you. And so, what does that mean? And so it kind of something maybe moving through past your sight, and it's obscured, and you need to figure out, what is it, what is it moving? What is the card here, and what is the card over here? And how can I kind of move through that and, disperse the clouds, so that you can see clearly what's going on. And so that is the first 6 cards. So we have done number 1, Rider, number 2, Clover, number 3, Ship, number 4, House, number 5, Tree, and number 6, Clouds. And so then we are going to start and look at ways that you can use just those first 6 cards for now in some combination drills. And the first thing is in the book is what Raina George calls the free association. And I'm suggesting to try this with these first 6 cards. And then as we add more, you can take those next 6 and do the same thing. And then you can start combining them, as we go along, however you want to do it. But the free association is here. It's assign a keyword and then combine the cards together. So start very simply. So you can just start with the cards. And I did, and this and this is one thing that you can do, and I'll show these at the end. This is a deck called the Cute Little Lenormand, and it's like this, and it comes in a book, and you get the book, and it's Cute Little Lenormand, and it has the deck in it, and you punch out the cards, and it's very cute. It's very kind of modern looking. You can see one of the cards here. But I did a study with it and read the book, and it's a really good book. And if it's one I do recommend, and I'll put a link to that one as well. It's one that if you want to start out with, I think it's a good one to start out because it's the symbols are very clear, and it has the and I'll show this better so that you can see it later. It has the playing card association. It has the keyword or the symbol word, a name on it. And then it does have a lot of space around it. And I wrote some of my keywords here. So I did in her assign, I actually assigned 3 keywords to this one so that I can pull this one out and then I can put it with the clover and I've assigned it and and now I'm combining it and I'm going to read. So I have Rider, and this one has the Rider and the Clover. But I have Rider and Clover. And so if I, looked at them with Rider on the left and Clover on the right, I would say there's news of success that's coming. Or there's something is arriving and I'm going to feel very lucky when it gets here. So you can see how those combination drills, and you can do that and just keep doing them over and over and over again and have fun with them and, come up with ways and, switch them around and say, okay, I have Clover on the left and Rider on the right. And again, choose how you want to read them. And, most of us, because we read sentences and things left to right, that you read left to right, but you may read in a different way. You might like to put things on top of each other, or something like that, or you might read right to left, whatever. But just be consistent. Whatever it is, just be consistent with it. But I do left to right. So if I have Clover on left and then the Rider on the right, then I have here there's an opportunity. And it's going to come to me by news. It's going to come to me. This opportunity is going to come by email. So, this something, and it's, I don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be an opportunity, but it's going to be good because the Clover, and it's going to come by email. So you can see how you can put those things together and just start making your own sentences with them and assigning and combining and looking, choosing the keywords that resonate most with you and then assigning and combining. I think this is really fun. So try that and do some. And you don't have to write them all down if you don't want to. You can just have fun with it. And you can maybe just do it for, another person, or you can, start writing them all down and seeing what keywords you like together. Now, this is creating multiple combinations. Now, in the book, she has on page 265, there is a chart that she has done. It's like an Excel spreadsheet. And she suggests putting in each column a person, place, or thing, an action, a description, and an other. And then you take the keywords that you put for each card under those and start putting them together. So, for example, for Clover, she has a person, place, or thing. So Clover could mean green vegetables, a gambler, a field of grass, or an opportunity. It can be an action of grab the opportunity, stay positive, eat more greens, take a risk, and a description, a jokester, a bargainer, happy or lucky. And then something else, these are just kind of other things that she came up with. So sudden second chance, sudden luck, reconciliation, winning situation. And so then you just put them together. So you put, and then you look at writer and what you have in writer. And so then she has a visitor. So this could be, a very positive visitor that you have come to your door. And so you can put those things together. And so if you want to do that, those are the 4 columns, and you can set them up in the way that you want to set them up. And then you make your own kind of little spreadsheet. I didn't do that just because it was a little bit involved, and you can just do it very easily by name a person, place, or thing, and then an action and a description and an other, and then just kind of combining them together, and looking at these at how the keywords that you use. But it is, if you wanted to do a spreadsheet like this and do something very involved like this, then you can definitely do that. And I'll put those things down in the description so that you kind of see how it works together. So that, and then 3 cards a day, and we only have 6 cards. So you might want to just try this a few times between now and the next lesson for the next couple of weeks, and just using those cards, and put the 3 of them together and draw the cards in the morning, interpret them in the evening. And it can be something that's very literal. So say you took these first 6 cards, and I shuffle them up, and then as we add more and more cards, you can do more cards, and do have more to choose from. But say I did this, and I have ship and house and writer. So the card that's going to be in the middle is going to be my theme. So house is going to be the theme. So I know that day is going to be something that's going to involve my house. And on the left is ship. And so something is coming, something is moving, something that maybe arriving at my house, or traveling to my house. And then it's going to be, but then there's going to be news. And so it could be something like, this could be getting a delivery, because there's a vehicle that's coming to my house that's bringing something, and that's arriving of something. And so it can be something like that, and then you can draw it in the morning and see, did I get a package? Did something come today? And then look at it and say, well, that wasn't it. And that's why she has interpreted in the evening, so that you can kind of look and see, well, what did happen today that did that? And it's funny because I've had lots of people coming to my house because we're having work done on our bathroom. And so we've had lots of people coming and bringing things, and workers coming, and all kinds of stuff. And so it has been one of those days. And so if I drew this in the morning, I would say, I probably have to stay home today, because there's going to be, people coming, and, news coming, and, movement, and, and arrivals of things that I need to be here for. And so I can look at that in the PM and say, yeah, that really did happen. So that's a way for you to, use this. And I'll put these things in, probably put them on just one like PDF, so that you can see all these things. And if you want to do any of these practices, then you can do that. And you can see how the chart is laid out, and you can use that as well. But these are just, really fun exercises for you to start doing. And again, make it fun. have fun with it. And, look at if something is not clear right off the bat, just let it be and say, I don't really know right now. And I'm going to see what happens. And I'm going to see as we go along how this card might make sense, because there are some cards that, will make a whole lot more sense once you start using them more and start doing readings and, put them in personal experience, personal anecdotes, and just doing, more readings with them, and kind of expanding the topics that are in your readings, because it expanded the cards. So for next class, and I'm hoping to get this, like I said, up a little bit faster. So for class 4, we're going to be doing card 7, which is snake, 8, which is coffin, 9, bouquet, 10, scythe, 11 is whip, and 12 is birds. And then we're going to be looking at the answer line, which is on page 269 to 274. And it's doing, I think she maybe does, but yeah, 5 cards, 5 or 7 cards as an answer line. And we'll have enough by then that we can use all the cards and lay out one I'll probably do just a 5 card spread and show you how you can use it. You have a question, use those 5 cards and to get an answer. And that 5 card answer line is definitely one of my favorite spreads, because it is so easy to ask your question, lay out the cards, and Lenormand will give you the answer. So that is what we're going to do for next time. Stop the sharing. And thank you for being here. I know this was, a long class, but I think it's so fun to go through the cards. And, next time we'll have 6 new cards and a new way to work with the cards. And we'll just keep going and moving forward. And I hope to see you again if not in the next Lenormand video, I'm hoping to get more videos out. I'm still working on the 4 things that I do every month, my crystal and herb and deck and book. And I've just finished the book that I have that I worked with September and October. And I've been working with the Hedgewitch Tarot this month. And I've also been working with Sassafras as my herb and Rhodonite as my crystal. And so I haven't reported on any of those yet, so I might just have one kind of wrap up Halloween Samhain festival time fun wrap up for that, and as the end of October. But again, work on your Lenormand cards. Let me know how it's going, and if you have any questions, please ask. I'll be glad to answer your questions that you have, and have some fun with the Lenormand cards. They are really fun to work with. And I will see you again very, very soon in the next video. Have a good day, and bye.